call our meeting to order at this time. I'd like to say good evening to each and every one of you, and thank you for coming out to our meeting tonight. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any public comments? Next, we will review the agenda, give board members an opportunity to make comments. Item number 1, consideration and adoption of minutes from our regular board meeting held on November 8, 2021. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move to item number. Was that someone?
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
All right. Did you have a comment, Reverend Bush? Or you just
So I just logged in.
okay? All right. We're reviewing the agenda items, Reverend Bush, at this time, and we're on item number 2, consideration and recommendation for employment of personnel. Are there any questions? Yes,
I do have.
Ms. Heath.
I have a question
Go
or
ahead.
concern. This, I guess, address it to Mr. Superintendent,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Dyer. Is there what is the process that's in place, or if it is in place, for interviewing employees who decide that they're going to resign? Is there an exit process for that?
Yes, ma'am. We have an exit interview form that we ask all of them to fill out. And we keep track of the data collected in that form to see if there's any trend data that show if we have people leaving for specific reasons. We also give them opportunity to write, not just answer questions with the multiple choice, but also write if they have concerns about a particular issue with their employment.
Okay, so there's no one-on-one personal interview dialogue.
We
To
ask
see
them
what
if
it is.
we ask them if they want to have a conversation.
Okay.
Then they check yes, and then we try to arrange a meeting with them.
Okay.
Ma'am, but so we do have exit interviews for. We ask all of them to complete those exit interviews before they depart.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So welcome, Ms. Heath. Any other questions? We'll move on to item number 3, consideration a recommendation for release of personnel. Are there any questions? Item number 4, consideration and recommendation to approve from the Building and Ground Committees A, 4C Academy Greenhouse Installation Bid Award. B, 4B High School Athletic Field fencing canopies renovation change order number 3 and 4. Are there any questions? 4C High School Baseball Softball Field renovation change order number 3. Are there questions? 4D LED lighting upgrade project change order number 7. Are there questions? 4E Turner Elementary School Phase 2 construction architect contract. Are there any questions? We'll move to item number 5. Consideration and recommendation to approve from Finance Committee 5A Gear Up Virtual Leadership Academy. Are there any questions? 5B Gear Up Virtual College Admission Essay Writing Series. Are there questions?
Hey girl, let me can.
Ms. Huntley? Did you have a question? Okay. All right. 5C, Gear Up, live online SAT prep course. 5D, Marlin and Jenkins Audit Services. Are there any questions? 5E, Public Safety Officer Supplement Grant, MOU. 5F, AIG Proposed Employer Increase. Are there any questions? 5G, Employee Retention Incentives. Questions? 5H, Internet Services. No question. 5I, Online Learning Device Refresh and Transition. Are there any questions? Moving on to item number 6. Consideration and recommendation to approve consent items 6A, fundraising request. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move to 6B, out-of-state field trip. Are there any questions? No questions. 7, financial reports. Item A, 8, committee reports. 9,
Superintendent, we do have one item for item.
committee report.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Superintendent, we here.
We recall, we received, we sent an email out and regarding a requested addendum.
Yes, sir.
Transportation Safety Committee. The committee was not able to meet due to scheduling conflicts associated with the GSBA conference and other obligations, but majority of the committee members approved for the item to be presented to the board for consideration for the purchase of up to 9 buses using the state contract, and as is typical, a portion of the funding will come from the state through bonds. The additional funding will come from the school system's E-SPLOST funds, which have been approved in the budget for the purchase of buses. And the reason that this is so time sensitive is that typically we would not need to approve this early, but because of supply chain issues associated with getting vehicles manufactured, produced, there's some concern about whether or not they can get done if we wait until January. So we want to go ahead and get those done, get them in order, so in line, so that they'll be delivered by June, which is the expiration date for the bond funding from the state.
So we will place that under 8A, committee report, Mr. Superintendent.
Pleasure of the board, yes, sir.
Okay. Any objection, board members? So purchasing of buses will go under 8A. All right,
That's
thank you,
fine.
Mr. Superintendent. Any questions about that item, board members?
No.
Okay, we'll move to item number 9. Board item discussion, superintendent report. Mr. Superintendent, are you ready for your report at this time?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll hear the superintendent report. I forgot to ask you, Mr. Superintendent, will we have a executive session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If time permits, I don't anticipate any action coming from the executive session.
Yes,
So
sir.
we can either have it in between briefing and the board meeting if there's time,
Oh.
or after the board meeting if the board wishes to do that to keep the meeting on task. But I believe we may be able to get it done prior to the board meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
13th. Of course, we'll begin by going over our Dougherty County COVID-19 data, as we typically do. Then we'll do a vaccination update, discuss our legislative priorities, discuss a few celebrations, a few other items, then we'll open up for questions, and if time permits and the board wishes to do so, we have an executive session to discuss safety, student safety, and personnel. We begin with our Dougherty County COVID-19 data. Our 7-day rolling average for new cases in Dougherty County, that's a typo, that should be 3.00 as of the 12th of December. It was 3.71 at our last meeting on as of November 5th. So that has declined. Our 14-day spread is considered low. Our 2-week change is decreasing. Our PCR positivity rate as of the 12th is 0.4%. As of November 5th, the last data reported to the board, it was 0.7%. Our our test turnaround time is averaging 40 hours or less for the last 2 weeks. Our contact tracing time is steady, and as of Friday, December 10th, the last data reported, our FEBA had 10 COVID-19 patients in the FEBA Albany hospital and the FEBA Albany campus. There were 25 as of November 5th, which was the last data reported to the board. Employee vaccination incentive, we have 1,922 employees who submitted documentation of being fully vaccinated. That's approximately 90% of our employees. We also had several vaccine booster events. On November 7th, October 7th, November 5th, November 13th, and December 4th. You have our vaccination update for Dougherty County in general. Those ages 5 to 9, which is the most recent age group approved for the dose. 3.8% have received 1 dose. Ages 10 to 14, 25.5% have received at least 1 dose. Ages 15 to 19, 36.1% have received at least 1 dose. Countywide, all eligible citizens, 51% have received 1 dose, and 46% are fully vaccinated. Those numbers are slightly up from the last time we reported, but still less than the state average. Our legislative priorities meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, December 14th at noon in room 120, 222 Pine Avenue. Email was sent out regarding that. Our legislative priorities, again, as it has been the last several years, number 1 is the support of expansion of our pre-K program in Dougherty County. About half of the pre-K eligible students in Dougherty County receive pre-K services. That's because of limited numbers of slots. We all know that early access to education provides a foundation that students need to help them be successful, and it's particularly helpful in areas where there's poverty and other barriers to education. So we're asking the state to provide funding for 10 additional classrooms, pre-K classrooms, that will provide us with 220 additional slots. And we will be prepared to renovate the former Sylvester Road Elementary School to accommodate those additional 10 classrooms. And then we'll have an East Campus for our pre-K and our Central Campus, which is located in the Magnolia Elementary Education Center. Our second is help address the teacher shortage in Georgia. We're asking our legislators to support any measure that will help local school systems recruit and retain teachers, including supporting the strengthening of our Georgia teacher retirement system, which is one of the best in the country. But we can always be better, and also include initiatives to allow districts the flexibility to hire retirees based on the needs of the district to serve in the classroom without risk of losing their retirement benefits. And that legislation is, the version of that legislation is being proposed right now, and we appreciate that. But right now, it's restricting the districts to hire teachers in the content area, the 3 highest need areas for the RESA. And although that is better than we have, it is restrictive in that Dougherty County may need math and science teachers, and Mitchell County may need something else. And so, and with Dougherty County being the largest of the districts in the RESA, we may, the three areas we have may end up being the ones that are approved for the RESA, but it may not meet the needs of the other districts in the area. So instead of basing it on a RESA need, I think what we're asking is for them to base it on the district's need. And because, quite frankly, if you need a band teacher and you don't have a band, you need a band director, you don't have a band teacher in your music teacher in your area, and no one wants to relocate. If you're in a small rural district, your need for a band director is just as great as my need for a science teacher if you can't find one. And so we're trying to make sure that we appreciate the effort for flexibility, but we're also trying to give us more flexibility so that it'll meet the needs that was intended, and that is to help address the teacher shortages throughout the state. And we think that that's one piece of the legislation that's currently being proposed that could be strengthened. Support lessening the impact of standardized testing. Our college and career ready performance index is a measure of effectiveness. It is has been changed throughout time as it's been introduced. And as we look at the weights that are associated with our CCRPI and other states' CCRPI, our CCRPI is up, can be weighted up to 80% based on test scores. We always say students are more than a test score, but 80% of our effectiveness measure is based on test scores for elementary and middle, and 70% is based on test scores for high schools. So several districts in the state have been discussing with the DOE, looking at reducing the weight on test scores to apply the weights on other effectiveness measures that would give a better measure of developing the whole child, not just test scores. Federal legislation says that the majority of the weight has to be on standardized tests, and majority can be 51%. And some states, I think Florida's at 55%, some states at 60%, Georgia's at 80% with elementary and middle, and 70% with high. And so there's been some discussion about shifting the weights as they look at revamping CCRPI to be a better reflection of the whole child versus just reflection of test scores. Then pandemic support, again, we're urging them, our legislators, to continue to provide support to schools by funding expanded services and resources for school safety, health and nursing services, behavioral health and mental health needs. As you know, we have received additional funding from the state and from the federal government regarding some of these items. We're asking for them to continue to provide that funding as the need is not decreasing, it is increasing. There's significant behavioral health and mental health needs that are being identified. Those needs have been increasing even prior to the pandemic. They've been increasing exponentially since the pandemic. Feelings of isolation, even some behavioral acting out in some cases. And we are looking to get ahead of that by having resources allocated so we can address those needs of our students. And then finally, the FTE Hold Harmless. As you know, our QBE funding is based primarily on our FTE. We saw, as many school systems in the state saw, a significant decline in FTE this past year as a result, we think, of the pandemic. We think that maybe we may recover some students, but some students may have moved permanently because of family issues, particularly in the areas that were hard hit. They lost relatives and they left because of those reasons. So what we're asking is that this legislature support any measure that will hold our school systems harmless for pandemic-driven drops in FTE that result in cuts in our QBE allotment. So those are our 5 legislative priorities. They're similar to the legislative priorities from last year, with the number 1 being expanding access to pre-K, and we did have one lessen the impact of standardized testing on CCRPI scores this year. That's one that was amended from last year. Last year we asked for relief from standardized testing period because of the pandemic. This time we're looking at asking for a change in the weights on our CCRPI calculation to better reflect development of the whole child versus test scores. Are there any questions associated with our legislative priorities that are proposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Reverend Bush.
I just want to commend Mr. Dye for the report and the recommendations that he's going to recommend to the legislators tomorrow morning. In addition to, he mentioned something about Sylvester Road, and I just want to ask a question if anyone has heard about the principal who was over there, Mrs. Button. She was a real organized, highly energetic leader for our school system for years at Sylvester Road. And I understand someone told me earlier today that she had passed. Did I hear that right? Anyone else heard that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mrs. Budden made her transition on Saturday morning, about 8:20 a.m. In Sumter, South Carolina, where that's her home. And so I've been in contact with her daughter, and those services are to be held on this coming Saturday at 11 o'clock a.m. And she will give me further details, and I will share it with the superintendent, and it will be disseminated from that point. But she did pass away.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Thank you so much. Very sad. Very sad.
Thank you. If there are no other questions regarding the legislative priorities, I want to take time to celebrate a little bit. This is graduation season, and I'm pleased to announce that we had 7 Dougherty County School System high school students who completed the requirements of their programs of study at Albany Technical College. I think that graduation was on December 2nd, I think it was. And we had 7 students to graduate there. And then this past weekend, we had 22 students who are currently in high school to graduate from Albany State University with their associate's degrees as they continue to matriculate through the Dougherty County School System. So we certainly want to congratulate those 29 students, 7 from Albany Tech, 22 from Albany State, who have completed their programs of study at those particular schools. And that's yes, sir. I think congratulations, yes, sir.
Oh, awesome, Mr. Superintendent.
As we continue with our celebrations, this is Lake Park Elementary School. The Lakers. This is their robotics team. The one, the picture on the left, they wanted to take a picture with the superintendent before they started. And I think I gave them look because they won the entire tournament. So next year I think all the schools are going to try to take a picture with me to see if they win. But seriously though, they did a wonderful job competing. We hosted at Monroe High School. We hosted the first Lego League elementary robotics tournament, a regional tournament that had schools as far away as Columbus and Thomasville to come compete. We had over 20 schools competing, and we had several schools to walk away with some hardware. We had 2 tournaments, Tournament A and Tournament B. In Tournament A, we had the Morningside Cyborgs, that's the name of their team. They won the Core Values Award, and the Core Values Award is presented to the team that demonstrates extraordinary enthusiasm, spirit, inspiration, exceptional partnership, and the most respect to his own teammates, as well as supporting and encouraging teams, the other teams. And that was the only team from Dougherty County School System to win an award in Tournament A. In Tournament B, you had the Lake Park Lakers. They had the Robot Performance Award, and they scored the highest number of points during the robot game. It consisted of 5 matches, and they had the highest score in terms of robot performance. And it was noted that they had the highest score of any team in Tournament A and Tournament B. So they had the highest overall score. Also, robot design, that award. Students on that award, students are evaluated on creativity of their robot design. Judges look for mechanical design, innovations, programming effectiveness, and team strategies for solving missions to assess the overall design quality of the team's robot. And the Sherwood Biters, won that award. Turley Elementary won the Innovation Award, the Innovative Award, and that's based on the team that shows the most creativity in their robot design and their techniques. Again, the Corvaz Award for Team B, Tournament B, was won by Alice Coachman, the Cyber Cheetahs, and I mentioned in the previous announcement about Morningside what that award stood for. And then the overall champion award, that's the most coveted award, and it recognizes the team that embodies the first Lego League experience by fully embracing the core values while also achieving excellence and innovation in both the robot design and the innovative project. So congratulations to all of our teams who competed. They all had a great time. I had a great time watching, trying to figure out what they were doing with that. These teams actually program. They code a program into the computer, and it causes their robot to go through a particular course. And so for elementary students to be able to do that is exceptional. And for these students to win, and again, this is Dougherty County School System's first elementary school to win an overall champion award for the first Lego League. And I think all of them deserve a round of applause for that. If you recall, about 5 years ago, we didn't have any elementary schools with a robotic team. We had 3 of our high schools with robotic teams, none of our elementary schools, and now we have all of our elementary schools with robotic teams, all of our middle schools, and all of our high schools. And they're doing an exceptional job. And if they're doing this well after 4 years, you can imagine what they'll be doing in the next 4 years. We'll be glad to see what they're doing, and they'll be making a significant difference in their educational achievement as well. One parent who was there, we also had a middle school tournament next door at 4CA, and one parent told me that her daughter was doing well in school. Then the pandemic came and she got disengaged, and she went to Robert Cross and started playing around with robots. And she understands that if she doesn't do well, she can't be on the robotics team. So she has started excelling again because she wants to make sure she can compete and participate on the robotics team. So it gets students engaged, and I think the educators in the room know that engagement is half the battle. If you get kids interested, then that's half the battle. And I think we're seeing that with our robotics teams, and we're certainly proud of them. From people talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Ms. Hutley is aware of the acronym STEAM, which adds art into that equation. And yes, ma'am. And I'm proud to say that Dougherty County School System is the first school district in the Southwest Georgia region to be approved to offer to qualifying seniors the Fine Arts Diploma Seal. We've been working on this for quite some time, and we were finally approved this year. As you know, the creative economy represents about $62.5 billion in total economic impact, about $37 billion in revenue, and 5% of all employment in the state of Georgia. And the Dougherty County School System can now offer that seal to its graduates who meet the criteria for the Fine Arts Seal by the state of Georgia. That was an assessment done by the Department of Education, and after that assessment was done, they determined that we met the qualifications. I want to give a kudos to Samantha Fields, who's the art teacher at Dougherty High School, and also the district art coordinator for Dougherty County.
There's all applaud that.
Ma'am?
There's all applaud.
Yes, ma'am. And so we are very proud, not only of our STEM folks, our science and math folks. We're also very proud of our artists in the Dougherty County School System, and we are very pleased to see us make this step, and we look forward to things to come. In keeping with that, we want to celebrate the return of our winter concert. The Dougherty County Youth Orchestra, including the orchestras of both Dougherty and Westover high schools, will be in concert on December 14th at 7 p.m. at the ASU West Campus Theater. I look forward to this event every year. With COVID, we had to take a break, but I'm looking forward to seeing these talented musicians perform again this Wednesday. Miss Hutley, I usually see Miss Hutley at the concert, and I don't know if I'll see her this time, but if not, then I'll.
Yes, you will.
Yes,
You know
ma'am.
you'll see me.
Yes, ma'am. So
You can't keep that time again.
yes, ma'am. We'll send the email out, but it's going to be Wednesday, December 14th at 7 p.m. I'm sorry, no, the 14th. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's the 14th.
14th, tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking it's Wednesday. It's tomorrow. I'm going to miss it. Miss Hutley, I won't see you there. I just got depressed.
Don't you worry about it. I see it for both of us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. December 14th. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. At the ASU West Campus Theater. The admission is $5 for that. But I usually make a donation, so if you're going, let me know, and I'll assign your name to those tickets.
I'm going.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh man, I'm thinking I have my dates wrong. I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna miss that. Yeah, it's 14th. Well, I'll miss it. But anyway, they do a wonderful job. I'm sure they always do. It's wonderful to see our students perform classical music
Yes.
with such quality. And if you go, I'm sure you'll be pleased with what you see. As we move forward, last but not least, I want to congratulate the Dougherty High School football team on an outstanding season. The first 10-win season in quite some time. They made it to the quarterfinals of the state playoffs, and I know I don't know, Miss Pooh, were you there? I didn't see. I didn't see. I looked you there. I know I saw Miss Heath there, and I tell you, I'm still kicking myself. We should have won that game. We should have won that game. We had a bad snap on a field goal attempt. We never got a chance to kick the field goal. It would have been about a 38-yard field goal, and the field goal kicker had kicked a 43-yarder earlier in the year as time expired against another team to win that game. So I think we were right there. We were right there. We could have won that game, but like I said, we couldn't have lost because the head coach and the offensive coordinator from Carver, who beat us, they both graduated from Dougherty and coached at Dougherty. So had it not been for that Dougherty kind of roots, I don't think they'd be as good as they are. So we'll take a little credit for that. They unfortunately lost in the state championship last Friday, but they had an outstanding season. Carver High School Tigers had an outstanding season as well. So congratulations to those Dougherty County School System alums. The retention incentive that we just talked about, that we discussed at the last meeting. These are the criteria that we're proposing: regular full-time and part-time employees, retirees, the 49% employees. The change is active substitutes who worked at least 30 days since the beginning of school for the December 17th distribution, and work at least 45 days from the beginning of school since for the June 15th distribution. Employees must be on payroll as of December 13th for the first distribution, and as of June 8th, that should be 8th, 2022, for the second distribution. Employees must not have submitted their resignations at the time that the distributions are made, and those are the amounts on the $12.50 for each distribution. For full-time employees, $6.25. For part-time, $6.12. For 49% employees, because they have to be less than half, and then substitutes at $6.25. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, incentives, yes. Yeah, for the ones that what we right. Well, that's why we're doing a contract for the second. It's actually a $2,500 annual incentive we're paying half of it now, then half of it for when the contracted employees sign their contract. June 15th is the last day that contracted employees can rescind their contract without penalty. So they stay through June 15th. Then we can assume that they will stay for the remainder of for the next year. If they choose to resign after June 15th, then we can request the funds back from them. That's why we chose June 15th as the second distribution date. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please excuse me, Chairman Goodison.
Yes, Ms. Huntley?
We cannot hear the discussion. We hear only.
All right,
Okay,
I
we'll correct
apologize.
that.
I didn't have my microphone on. I know that we're doing things on the front end to recruit, incentives to recruit new teachers and all, so I understand balancing it to keep good teachers. I just wanted to make sure there's a few questions I had that I didn't see in the materials sent out, so make sure. But what was the answer as far as the sustainability and how long?
Yes, sir. We anticipate this going through ESSER, through the continuation of ESSER funding through 2024 September. So to go through the next 2 fiscal years after this fiscal year, and we think that that will give us time to have a more stable job market in terms of teacher shortage. It would also give us an opportunity to identify those retirees who will be eligible to come back to work by that time. And so what we're hoping is that this next 2.5 years will give the job market time to stabilize and not be as volatile, so that we'll have a better opportunity to attract and retain teachers in a more traditional way versus having to offer incentives to retain them. We may still have some signing bonuses or signing incentives, recruitment incentives like we had prior to the pandemic.
Yes, sir.
But I don't anticipate having to issue retention incentives moving forward beyond ESSER funding availability.
I appreciate you taking the time. I didn't see that in here.
Yes,
And
sir.
and those were things that when I first read over this, we got the manual, and I should have asked it earlier, but I skipped through the pages.
I think I had it in my comments from the last superintendent's report, but I should have put it in there again. It's been a while since we had that meeting. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
It's not only teachers, but bus drivers. You know, the city was offering a sign-in bonus for bus drivers, and we lost 3 bus drivers because of that. So we have to do it. Not only is it, at first I thought we were having a competitive advantage, and in some cases it's keeping us from having a competitive disadvantage. So it's sort of needed. I certainly appreciate any support that you all can provide on that. Yes, ma'am. $12.50 for regular full-time employees, $6.25 for part-time employees, $6.12 for retirees or 49% employees, and $6.25 for substitutes who worked at least 30 days from the beginning of the school year for the December 17th distribution, and at least 45 days from the beginning of the school year for the June 15th distribution.
We cannot hear the other side of the conversation.
Oh, thank you, sir. I was asking him to repeat those figures again, ma'am. Sorry.
Other items, the Joint Redistricting Committee for the Dougherty County Board of Education and the Dougherty County Board of Commissioners was held. The first meeting was held today. I think it was a productive meeting. They made a lot of progress in terms of how to move forward. Again, as a reminder, our legislative priorities meeting will be held tomorrow, Tuesday, December 14th at noon in room 120 of the Government Center. Our annual holiday lunch and grab and go will be held Thursday, December 16th from noon to 1 p.m. here in this room. Anyone who would like to grab and go with a scrumptious holiday meal, feel free. If you can't make it, just give give us a call and we can have it delivered. And then staffing challenges continue. We've discussed additional benefits. We also looking at the employee perks program. We were bringing those items to you as they develop. We're trying to enhance the employee experience in the Dougherty County school system to make this a destination location for the best educators in the state of Georgia. And in order to do that, we have to provide them with benefits and employee programs in addition to a competitive salary. And we'll be bringing those ideas as they further develop. Also, as some of you know, when a charter school was considering starting in Dougherty County, and then when they decided not to when the pandemic hit, we were looking at significant budget reductions. At least we thought we were. And so we made several organizational structure changes that resulted in not funding several key positions at the district level. We didn't make any changes at the school level, but several at the district level, including the chief operations officer position, the director of student support position, our turnaround support specialist position, and several others. And as we have begun to meet the challenges associated with operating the school system in the throes of the pandemic, we are thin, and we are very thin. And after a year and a half or 2 years almost of doing this in these conditions, I was beginning to wear on my folks. And so part of creating the conditions to enhance the employee experience is make sure we are properly staffed to ensure that we're not overworking some of our employees. So I'm going to do a review of our organizational structure over the break. Not too much over the break, just a few days. And to come back with some recommendations in January to see if we can do some things to help us become more efficient. And as we continue to meet the challenges associated with operating the school system in this environment. Finally, are there any questions? I know most of them were asked during the presentation, but are there any others? And with time being long, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I would suggest that we move forward with the meeting for those who are on, and then the executive session could happen after the meeting, because I don't anticipate any action being requested after the executive session.
Are there any questions, board members, to the superintendent at this time? Hearing none, we will close this meeting. We'll move into our regular board meeting. Call our regular board meeting to order. We stand for a moment of silence and the pledge. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible.
liberty. We did make one change to our agenda. We added 8A. At this time, ask for approval of the agenda as amended. Can we get a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended. Items.
I second, this is Headley.
All right, probably motion is second that the agenda be approved with the amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No opposes? The agenda is approved. Consideration of adoption of minutes from our regular board meeting held on November 8, 2021.
So move.
Second, Belt Pool.
Probably motion is second that the minutes be approved for November 8, 2021. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
approved, and opposed, say, I'm sorry. All right, there are no opposers to the motion. All right, we'll entertain a motion for consent agenda, item 2 through 8, with the addition of 8A.
So move, Poole.
Second the
Second.
motion, Heath.
All right, properly motion is second. All in favor of consent agenda, say aye.
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 All opposed? No opposed. Okay. Yes.
For motion to, wanna adjourn, then go to,
Financial,
just go to executive session. I motion that we go into executive session to discuss personnel and security.
I second that
Student
motion.
discipline.
properly motion second that we go into executive session at this time. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then executive session. A motion to adjourn.
That's from the front. Yeah, I don't know.
Is there anybody outside, Mr.? Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Young, but I thought that's what I was doing.
The way I'm looking at it,
It's been a long day since
in America, feel your heart. There's a long
All
part.
right, motion to. All right, there were no action taken in the executive session. We had a long discussion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.